What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the first ever podcast of Gallows and Tavern Talk. We are your hosts. I am Christopher Smith, aka Sandsox.
And I'm Tim J. Geiger, otherwise known as Screen Tapper, tapping those screens.
Always tapping those screens. So you got yourself a little bit of a nice setup here, I think. I think we're looking good, man. So we don't really have any kind of agenda for today. We're running a little bit behind. We wanted to start at 7 p.m., and I think that's going to be our plan. You know, we'll always adjust things as we go based on how the podcast is going, in our opinion, and the viewer feedback and stuff. But our plan starting off is to do like a 30 to 45 minute podcast every Wednesday and see how that goes. Now, we ran into some technical issues because we had to do our first time setup. So if you guys notice something, feel free to put it in the chat. Yeah, I don't know. Geiger, hit me with something.
All right, so we need some topics. Is that correct?
We do. Why don't we talk about, I know you can't see it because all you can see, we got a little bit of a ghetto rig going on right here, but I'm really liking our layout of the podcast, if we can talk about that for a quick second. One of the downfalls to it is the chat is not going to work for you guys today, so if you type in the chat, that ain't going to work. Unfortunately, but it is what it is. What do you think, Geiger, on that?
Well, it'd be nice to eventually have that chat come up so we could maybe have some interaction if there's any to be had. I haven't actually seen what we look like live or anything. I'm actually trying to check that out right now.
Sure, yeah, I just pulled it up on my side too, just so I can make sure that we were actually streaming. And I guess that's another thing I should say is that for anyone that comes and watches this right now, we're live on my primary channel that I do most of my game streaming and my game uploads for, because we created the new Gallows and Tavern Talk channel last night, and you have that 24-hour block to where we can't live stream there. So once we're done streaming this and the video is processed, I'll download it and I'll upload it over to our shared channel, and then every week going forward from today, you should be able to catch us there.
Actually, I'm checking it out right now, and it actually does look pretty decent. It's cool that I didn't know if you were going to be able to go ahead and get that, set up or anything, because I know you had a little bit of technical difficulty when we were starting up.
Yeah, so for anyone that's watching and just kind of now that you do have a visual on it, old screen tapper, I'm gonna flip over here to the dashboard. And so what the problem is that like in the main part of the screen in the center, I wanted that to be, I have two monitors here, and I wanted to have you on my left monitor, and for just that monitor to be picked up over in the top right hand corner, but then be able to keep all my software that I'm running the stream. Like if I pull it up right here, which obviously you'll have a little bit of a delay, but I'm going to pull up the streaming software right now. When you see a dark screen that shows our layout and stuff, that's what I'm doing everything on, and I don't want that to ever show while we're streaming, right? So I wanted to use the window capture option to pick up only your application off the left monitor, and anything else on that monitor wouldn't be picked up by the stream. Ran into issues with that for whatever reason. So right now I had to use the full display, so anything that's on that left monitor will pick up underneath where your camera is at right now. So I don't know if I have a good way to, let me try to do this. If I click over on you, and if you let it come through for a second, you should see, here in a second, if you see your camera move, you'll see what I'm talking about. Where you'll see the Windows wallpaper behind it looks like cracked earth. It's actually like,
oh, yeah.
So I wanted it to where that would never happen. Like you would permanently be over there. And I think I can do that. We were just having some technical issues. So going forward, hopefully that'll be the case.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get a topic going on here then.
Sure. Yeah. Hit me.
All right. How about we talk about the Fallout teaser that they did, because that's a fresh topic. Now, this happened, I believe it was yesterday around 12 is when 12 noon was when I came aware of it. And I got excited because I'm a big Fallout fan, and I got super excited. And of course, people were going crazy. and they were getting lots of views, and they were just letting it go and go and go in this the stream. And I thought that's all right. Later on they'll tell us, right? They'll tell us what's going on. It just kept going on and on. I kept checking the screen. I'm sorry, the stream, and I got screenshots of it on my phone. But like one time they put a puppet out and they just moved the puppet around and they don't say anything. Another time they had like a balloon. They don't say anything. Another time they actually just laid the thing to sleep and turned the lights off. And my favorite comment from any of it that I saw people saying was Warcraft 4 confirmed, because it's just, different company and all that. It might as well be like, if those are supposed to be clues, I don't know how anyone was supposed to answer that. So then after, I don't know, 26, 28 hours later, they go ahead and they show the trailer that you're showing there on the stream. And it's Vault 76, which I was disappointed with because I thought that we were going to maybe see a Fallout 3 remaster, because that's a rumor that's been going around. And I feel like for all that hype that they gave us, basically just this little teaser trailer, it's not really anything to get excited about. It's like, hey, that tech demo that you did, it looks like it's right from the Fallout 4 engine. I don't know if it's a standalone game, if it's DLC. I don't know what it is. I would at least hope that it's a standalone game, but it's probably, I mean, who knows? Who knows? But it doesn't really do much for me. I was really hoping for either a Fallout 3 remaster, or I was hoping for a Fallout New Vegas 2 or something like that.
Sure, yeah. So, yeah, I remember last night when you had messaged me and you sent that, and I went and looked at the Twitch channel where they were live streaming that. And to me, that was my first reaction, was like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this, right? Like, there's nothing here. So I actually, this morning when I had messaged you and asked you if you came around to seeing the video that we just displayed there on the podcast, somebody else had shared it on Facebook, and they were all hyped about it, and I watched it. And the reason why I asked you about it before giving you my opinion about it is because you're much more well-versed in the Fallout universe. Like, I was a little bit big into 3, and that was about as far as I went in Fallout, which I think was a great game. But just from the trailer and stuff that they showed, I agree with you 100%. It leaves a lot to be desired. I'm much more of a fan that if you're going to give us something, to wait until you have something to give us. Don't push something out like this, because I don't know if that's game. It doesn't look like gameplay footage to me. It looks like an actual rendered video. So I would much rather wait until you guys have some gameplay to show us what it is you're working on. I think the only people outside of that would prefer to get what they got are the extremely super diehard fans, like how we used to be with Warcraft back in the day. Like if back in 2008 when they were announcing Wrath of the Lich King, if they had come out with just like the cinematic, like that was enough to hype me up, because I already knew I liked the game. But like you just said, with what they gave you, is this? I assume it's going to be its own game. When did Fallout 4 come out? Was it 2015?
Yeah, something like that. It's just, it seems a little rushed. I am basically, or at least I used to be, a hardcore Fallout fan. And if you ever like really look at these Fallout games, that a lot of time in between each game, except for maybe Fallout 3 and New Vegas. But New Vegas is made by Obsidian. There's a story there, but I'll save that. I'll save all that for some other time. But basically, Obsidian and Bethesda, two different companies. I'm worried that since they pumped out another Fallout game, which I know it's been a couple years, but if you look at the time frame between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, there's a long time frame there. I mean, I don't want this to become like Call of Duty, where they're just going to pump one out every year or two, and you're just getting a watered down product. I already felt that Fallout 4 was more watered down than 3 or New Vegas. So it's disappointing to me in some way, but I guess I could be wrong, because we haven't even seen the gameplay footage. I believe the plan is at E3 to show gameplay footage, and I might see that and go, oh man, this is awesome. But I don't know, because that little teaser trailer, I feel like they just said, hey, Leroy, that little thing that you made, that little short minute and a half thing that you made, we're going to use that today, and in the meantime, we're going to milk Twitch views.
Yeah, I got a pretty good laugh off of it when you said that, because it did look like who knows, it's not going to be the case, but you could believe someone had just made like a little fan video of Fallout 4 and hacked their Twitch channel and ran that promo. So
yeah, I mean, it literally looks like the Fallout 4 engine, which I was hoping at least for a new engine. And really, honestly, I thought one of two things. I thought you're either going to have a Fallout announcement of some sort for the Switch, because a lot of people kind of have been asking for that since Skyrim went to the Switch. Or I thought you're getting Fallout 3 remastered because they renewed their trademarks on Fallout 3. And why would you do that for a 10-year-old game? I don't know. But there you go. But honestly, do I think Fallout 3 needs to be remastered? No, because you can play it and alter out the settings. And I know modding Fallout 3 is a little harder than New Vegas, but still, people do it. So I'm not a fan of all these remastered games, but maybe that's a topic for some other time.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. The way these all these franchises they push out a bunch of games like EA got really bad about it for a while. I remember somebody showed like one year when they released like one of their FIFA soccer games, like FIFA Soccer 12 or something like that, and then they released FIFA Soccer 13, and someone went and did like a side by side screenshot of both of them, and it was literally the same exact image, but they had re-rendered the colors for the uniforms on the newer image. They actually didn't do any new gameplay, so. I agree, and I think again, like we discussed when we were playing some Warcraft last weekend, that was my problem with Warcraft is that it became more about the quantity of the content as opposed to the quality of it. Like I'm much more of a fan. I'll wait, just like for the video, like we just said. I would rather wait and get a good video show me what I'm getting as opposed to getting stuff quick, quick, quick. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Time
Um,
will tell.
speaking of Warcraft, let's kind of talking about. I mean, I know Bethesda releases games on PC, but when I think of Fallout, I think more of consoles. Maybe that's just because that's where I played it. But let's stay in that console realm for a second. Have you heard about this rumor about how World of Warcraft is supposed to be announced for PS4? I personally think it's just a rumor. I don't think it'll ever happen. But if it did happen, I'm wondering if when they talk about how they're going to relaunch classic World of Warcraft, it makes you wonder, are they going to try to make that for the PS4? There's been some screenshots supposedly leaked of like a controller interface with World of Warcraft, but honestly, I think that's just somebody that's modded it to look like that. It almost looks like if you were holding up a cell phone and how you have the buttons here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I don't feel like that'll ever happen, but there's a rumor.
Yeah, when we briefly discussed that recently, my whole theory on it was from playing Fortnite. They've really integrated mouse and keyboard support for the PS4. So I first off, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to come to it because if I don't feel like I'm going to use Fortnite as my comparison again because all these people that play Fortnite on PC, and this would actually probably make you happy. Most of the professional players, they lower like all their video settings down to like bare minimum. Like they don't care how it looks, they want it bare minimum so they get the maximum performance out of that their PC so they can play better. I noticed when I first started playing Fortnite that I had problems with performance. I had a lot of lag, and I didn't have that option. I wasn't able to go into the PlayStation. From the PlayStation settings, you cannot change your video graphics. Like it's set across the board for everyone. So I feel like you would run into that same kind of issue bringing a game like World of Warcraft that has so many video and performance settings that you can change on your PC based on how good your PC is, where you can't do that on the PlayStation. So I think that's one roadblock that would stand in the way. And the second one is there's no way someone's playing World of Warcraft competitively on PS4 with a controller. They would absolutely have to use a mouse and keyboard because, I mean, imagine trying to play a Warlock on
Right.
PS4. It'd be
Right.
crazy.
Well, the thing is, I think this is going to be like its own version of World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? Like no cross, what do you call it? Cross platform, but still, I think it's almost supposed to be like, oh, it's going to be like a reboot of Classic, which I guess if they, the problem is, okay, you have Final Fantasy, what is that, 14, A Realm Reborn, which is a console game, which I did spend about a month playing it. It was pretty fun, but the whole time I played it, I really just wanted to have a mouse and keyboard. Everything I had to do with the controller, it took me longer. It felt harder to do. I really just wish I had a mouse and keyboard the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just did a quick Google search and on Warcraft for PS4 or World of Warcraft on PS4, and the first website that came up from Daily Star. I'm not reading through it all, but just the bottom line, I see it says don't expect World of Warcraft to come to Xbox One or PS4, and especially not Nintendo Switch anytime soon. Um, I don't know because it's kind of misleading because the way that Activision bought out Blizzard and the fact that now like Destiny is available through the Blizzard app and everything, like you could see them maybe wanting to cross over into that realm. I don't know how an MMO like has there ever been a successful MMO on console?
Final Fantasy 11 and was, I believe, everyone would consider that successful, and that was on PS2, believe it or not. That still actually has people still play that today. I don't know if you consider Final Fantasy 14 successful or not, but None of them were just exclusively on console. Just like I guess World of Warcraft wouldn't be exclusively on console.
Yeah, and I was just thinking. Also, I guess technically, even though it's a shooter game, Planet Side 2 is considered an MMO as well, right?
That's true, and again, it's on PS4, but it's not. I mean, I guess the idea that we're trying to get behind here is not exclusives to a console, but I mean, there have been several MMOs on console, so I guess yeah, it's probably possible. Obviously, with something like World of Warcraft, when you're talking about like what you're saying, you got a warlock that's got 30 something spells or however many, and you've got 4 to 8 buttons tops, right? If I'm thinking if you're moving the camera with your right, you're moving your character with your left stick, you can use R1, all the way through L2 and triangle and all that. Maybe give yourself some functionality with the directional pad buttons, but I don't think there'd be unless they made like a console boxed version of World of Warcraft, which would be almost like a real tighter, smaller sandbox of the game, and gave it to people, and it could not interact with the other people because how can you have some elite gamer on some gaming rig come in and he can run macros and
Hmm.
multi box, and he would just smoke the console noob there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was just thinking of. I think it was Burning Crusade when the mages got that new quick spell, that Ice Lance, that just did the quick ice shot. And I remember we got into a battleground one time, and there was this mage, and I was trying to chase him down with our rogue. And he was, because he was using mouse and keyboard, he was able to use his strafe button, his E button, to run sideways, but click and drag on the screen so you can look backwards. And he was running away from me, jumping up in the air, turning, shooting ice lance, and turning back around and landing. So he was able to effectively continue running away from me without stopping and hitting me. So there's no way that would work on a controller. So the scenario you just proposed there, or that you said would be difficult, where you couldn't cross-platform it because if you're PC going up against PS4, you're going to wreck that person, or vice versa. If you're on the PS4 going against somebody that's decent on PC, you're going to get wrecked. And we see those challenges now on Fortnite, which is not a game we need to get into in a bunch of detail, but because they do support cross-platform, I was playing last night, and when you come up across just a decent PC builder, like, you have absolutely no chance.
Yeah, and I think that would be the problem with that. I mean, it's certainly when I played Final Fantasy 14, I could tell when I was playing with somebody who was on a PC. I remember I played a white mage in Final Fantasy 14 online when I played it on PS4, and the tank, we came across this tank, and he was obviously playing on PC. He was so quick, and I'm sitting there trying to like type this out on a controller, and it sucked because I mean, I did my job. I healed the dungeon, right, or the scenario. I can't remember what they call them. I did my job, no problem. But I really wanted to communicate with this guy more because he'd be asking me if I was ready for the pull and all this, and it just took me way too long as a healer to let him know, yeah, I'm ready. Which take me 2 seconds on a mouse and keyboard, boom, boom, yeah, or whatever. So
Yeah, okay, so I was just now checking the chat, and I can tell it is now by looking at the volume bars, but apparently my volume was low. So, yeah, we're going to have some growing pains here. I'm going to bump it up. I was down at negative 16 decibels. I'm going to bump it up to negative 8. And it still looks like it's low. So that whole first 15 minutes of that podcast, you may not be able to hear me very well, Geiger, when we go back and watch that. So, oh no, growing pains, man.
I'm
But, yeah, go ahead. Nothing?
I'm sure we'll figure it out
Yeah.
as we go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the first one. In region, and anybody else that's watching, in case you missed the beginning of this, like I said, we're airing tonight on my channel right now that we're on because um, I created our new channel last night, and you have to wait 24 hours before you can stream. So make sure that you guys head over to our other channel. I'll put a link in the description to the video after it gets done processing. But we're going to be streaming there, and we've already got some subscribers, which kind of shocked me. Did you share or subscribe yourself today, Kyer?
Yeah, I subscribed just so I would know where to go and rewatch it at. Now, as far as sharing it, I don't know. I don't think I shared it.
Yeah, so last time I checked, okay, so yeah, it shows it on screen here. We have 18, and I've put a subscriber goal of 100 because I'm trying to drive to that. But I've been streaming now on my personal channel for several months, and I was getting an average, I want to say, of maybe 5 new subscriptions a week. And just since last night, man, I was at 71 yesterday, and now I'm at 90, I think. So I got a huge influx today on both channels. So that's good. Something to look forward to. All right, so what were we talking about there? A little bit of World of Warcraft on PS4. Um, you guys can definitely tell if anybody's played World of Warcraft. That's kind of the theme we went with here on the podcast, which I'm very happy that that you suggested that, because originally I drew up a mock idea of going with like a Hearthstone theme, and I thought it looked pretty good, honestly. But the problem with it is it's been done before. The exact theme. I think it's a website or a YouTube channel called The Angry Chicken. They do some kind of video game podcast, and they have something very similar to where they use like I don't think they use cards. I think they use the hero frames or something like that. But something like that had been done in the podcast layout we have here. The overlay for this, where we have our own character frames. I've never seen anyone do it before. I think it's unique. I like how we're playing off the references of the races and classes that we enjoyed playing, and how we use the level as our actual ages, even though we're getting old. We're old for this
Very
generation.
creative, Mr. Smith. Very creative. Speaking of World of Warcraft, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic: copyright infringement. Because I'm a little upset about copyright infringement tonight. Let's discuss something. Let me direct this at Blizzard themselves. I was sitting here, and I went about a year and a half without home internet. Now I know that's going to just turn people's insides on the outside. I know, who could ever do that? I did it, no problem. Didn't really even miss it. Still don't miss it. I wouldn't be able to do this right now, but it's really not that big a deal. I think some people are a little addicted and they need to, expand their horizons. But I'm going to digress from all that. This will turn to an anti-consumeristic rant if I don't. But let me just get to the point. So, we were talking about earlier, if I don't know how the audio levels were, but we were playing a little Warcraft this weekend. A little private World of Warcraft, because I'm not a fan of modern World of Warcraft. I don't believe that Mr. Sandsocks here is either. And so, I've done this a million times, okay? And now I recently got a new internet provider, one I've never used before because they were a little cheaper. And I get an email from them that says, possible copyright infringement. You've downloaded this World of Warcraft client. And it really rubbed me the wrong way. And it listed Blizzard as the copyright owners and all this. Thing is, you know how many freaking World of Warcraft boxes, games I've bought in my life? How long I've paid your damn subscription fee, Blizzard? And you know what? I was sitting over here thinking, when they relaunch World of Warcraft Classic, I'm probably going to play that. I'll go ahead and pay the money again because that was a good time. I want to feel like I'm 20 years old again or 19. But you want to know what? Maybe now I'm not going to do that, Blizzard, because the one way not to get my money is to sit here and be like, we own this content. Well, you know what? Screw you, Blizzard. Okay, I already downloaded it. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna freaking do? And you know what? I'm still gonna play on private service, Blizzard, because you know what? I know the law. I know the law. Did you know that they lost a court case that says that they cannot hold you to that terms of service standard in terms of what you do with the game once you legally purchase it? So, since I've bought Classic WoW, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, and I think I even bought Warlords of Draenor. Okay. Does that sound about right to you?
I think you did.
Okay. So, in my mind, now this is a legal gray area, I'm just backing up my physical media when I'm downloading these clients. So, hey, look at this. I'm not breaking any law. I already paid for this. So, and they lost a court case that says they can go after people who connect to private servers. They have to go after the servers themselves if, So, it's you can look it up. There's Dodgy Kebab did a nice video on it. I'm a big fan of Dodgy Kebab. Like that guy a lot. I like Hamster Will Gaming as well, but he's not active as much anymore. But Dodgy Kebab, one of my favorite private server community guys. And we've played on a lot of private servers, and I don't really have any problems with it. I'd tell Blizzard right to their face that I played on private servers.
Yeah, so I want to touch on two areas of this. The first one being the part where you said about you're backing up your physical media, because I think the notification you got, because we're both AT&T customers. I'm going to give a real quick story. The reason why I'm an AT&T customer, the reason why I'm an AT&T customer is because about a year ago, my wife and I have a hard drive which stores all of our movies that we've owned and have ripped over all the years off all of our DVDs and Blu-rays, right? That hard drive died, and I didn't feel like grabbing a ton of physical media, putting it in my computer. I actually don't even have a hard or a optical drive anymore, so I couldn't do it without buying one. So I thought, no problem. I'll get myself a new hard drive. I'll go download all my movies and everything. So I did that, and I was a Comcast customer at the time. And I didn't know that Comcast actually caps your data if you don't buy their television service, which their television service is horrible. So I got an email from them basically saying, hey, you went over your, 1 terabyte of data a month, or I think it was 100 gigabytes. Whatever. They said I went over, and they gave me a warning. They said, we're going to do you a favor this time and not charge you, but if you ever do it again, we're going to charge you for going over your limit. Made me really mad. So I immediately called them and turned off my service and switched to AT&T, even though they have slower speeds, because AT&T has better prices, and they told me we'll give you unlimited. So they did, and I went back and resumed downloading all my movies. Again, like you said, I'm backing up physical media that I bought, that I own over the years, which is something both of us have been ROM players. They tell you right on ROM websites, like, hey, don't download these unless you own them. If you own them, then you're allowed to, because you're backing up something you've purchased. But I got the same exact email you did the first day I started downloading my movies to back them up. And I said, what the hell with you guys? And went and purchased a VPN plan, which is like $7 a month. Not something I would expect you to do, but I didn't feel like dealing with it. So I go through VPN. So that's part one of that conversation. Is I agree with you. I don't think it's Blizzard having anything to do with it. I think it's 100% AT&T, and I think it's a Bush League move. What I do on my internet service is I guess you're getting to a gray area, because I was about to say as long as it's not illegal. But to me, what we're doing was not illegal, right? I wouldn't think so if you're backing up something you've purchased.
No, I don't see it as an illegal matter. I know where you're going with that conversation, because you're going to say what I do with my internet service is my business, and I completely agree. And I think the ISP provider should say, you're our customer. I don't care what you're doing with the internet. I feel like if there is a legal issue there, it should be up to that company to issue you a cease and desist order and take it from there. But I know why you kind of hesitated, because you're thinking, well, there's some of these people that get on here and they start messing around with like child pornography and stuff like that. Obviously, that's not okay. But we are talking a total different scenario from that. You're talking something that's damaging to another person versus this doesn't hurt anything. Blizzard is not losing money from me downloading a client that was made in 2009, I believe was that one. The other thing is, let me touch on this. So this whole time I didn't have internet. It's really not that I didn't have internet. I was using Sprint's network. Okay, I switched to Sprint from Virgin Mobile and got a all-in, like hardcore, like top-end flagship phone. Couldn't have never been happier with the phone service. Never really was a big phone guy, but Sprint changed my perspective. I downloaded a lot of stuff and never had any issues with Sprint. Some of the same types of things through Sprint, through the hotspot, through different apps. Never had an issue with Sprint. And the funny thing is like AT&T, it's like they're almost too afraid to want to say, you did this. It's like, may have occurred, possible. Like, what do you need to do? Nothing, and all this. It's just like, you're literally trying to scare some grandmother into yelling at little Billy for doing something that she doesn't understand. And they said, if you get too many of these now, we can cancel your contract. Well, please cancel my contract. I'll just go to Time Warner,
Yeah. Yeah, the second part of that as well. So we approached it from the ISP perspective and whether or not you own the content. The second part of it is, when you and we bought vanilla World of Warcraft, the original one, we may still want to play that. A service that they have refused to offer for, 14 years now? 12 years since that version ended, something like that. So if we want to play that, what happens when Blizzard tomorrow decides, you know what, no more World of Warcraft, we're building Warcraft 4, you guys have until the end of the next expansion to play your game, then you're crap out of luck when you paid $60 for that game up front on top of the subscription. So to me...
And that was how they lost the court case, because basically the court said that you don't get to write the law. Just because you put this in your terms of service, people paid for this product. And as so long as they paid for this product, if they want to get that service from somewhere else, it's a gray area technically, but Blizzard lost the case, because it's exactly like you're saying. I paid for Classic WoW. I paid for Burning Crusade. So if I want to access these through third parties, that's my business.
Yeah, I think where they really messed up is they didn't know how big they were going to get. Otherwise, I think they would have made the game free to play, or not free to play, free to download, you would have been able to own the physical copy. Like you wouldn't have had to pay the $60 for the game itself, and you would have only been subscription based. Or they should have went the other route and made it, you only buy the game and you don't pay subscription. I don't think you can do both. So I'm no lawyer, but that would be what I would think just as a normal human being.
Yeah, I mean the problem is you have a lot of outdated laws where it comes to copyright, and I think as long as you're not downloading World of Warcraft clients and burning them to disks and selling them to people, I think you're fine. Um, I think as long as no one's making money off of it, and the servers themselves, as long as they're only making money that goes back into maintaining the servers, even that's been cleared up as being okay in most places. Uh, Now, when you get into intellectual copyrights and all this crazy stuff when it comes to running a server, Blizzard loses sometimes, they win sometimes. It depends on the country. China, your SOL. Russia, your SOL. Most places in Europe can kind of get by with it. Of course, you have stuff like Nostalris that got shut down, which is really just a total, D-bag move on Blizzard's part. It's like, here's these people that enjoy your product and love your game. Let's shut them down. Those people that you're forcing to get off that server, they're not going to come pay you money, Blizzard. And it's sad because I used to love Blizzard so much. They were like my favorite company. But those original 29, 30 guys, they're gone. And now you have Activision and corporate greed. And it's just, their games are just subpar to me now.
Oh yeah, Activision. I don't like them, and I was concerned. When we started building everything for this podcast to go live, I put so much World of Warcraft into it, and then yesterday when I went to build the intro video, and I was pulling the music, I was like, man, I really want the tavern music because it's one of my favorite tracks on all the World of Warcraft soundtracks. I was like, I really want to play the tavern music, but I'm afraid I'm going to get flagged for copyright on YouTube. So I went and did some research. Blizzard actually has on their website that they highly encourage. This is going to be shocking based on the fact that they don't want people playing private servers. But on their website, they state that they highly encourage people using their intellectual property as far as images, videos, music, and all that from their games to make their own personalized videos, even if they're making money off of them, so long as the service where they're providing that content doesn't charge a fee. So like if YouTube said, in order to view the Gallows Inn Tavern Talk, podcast every week, you have to pay $5 a month. Well, then Blizzard would shut that down because you're charging a fee to access the content. So they don't care if you monetize off of ads and stuff like that using their content. So I thought that was kind of cool, and it really shocked me because I was expecting to see a big fat no, you can't do that.
Well, do you recall when Carbonite back in the day wanted to charge a membership fee, and Blizzard said, no, you can't do that? I think that ties into that. Like, Carbonite can use all that stuff in Blizzard to build this database to give away for free, but they were going to basically make it illegal in the game if they did that. And I think that kind of ties into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was cool, and it lends its hand if you go back and watch like some of our best memories of stuff like what the heck was it called? What were those videos we used to watch back during Classic and Burning Crusade that they did the contest at BlizzCon for? Zenrath and
oh yeah, illegal Danish.
Yeah, it's like those people, like those were some talented people that knew what they were doing, that put their heart and their soul into that stuff. So it's nice that they actually support that. It's one of the few things left I feel like they do right. So
yeah, I mean that could be a hour-long conversation in and of itself. I mean, Blizzard went from being my favorite kind of independent gaming company to just being this corporate monster. And why we're on all this Blizzard stuff, I feel like the original Blizzard people would have bowed out gracefully after Wrath of the Lich King. I feel that Cataclysm and all the changes of modern WoW is very much so a Activision institution. I don't feel like our original Blizzard guys would have. I mean, most of the original Blizzard has left. There's videos of it on YouTube where they actually talk about where they went, what games they worked on.
Yeah, I think that and it's crazy. And again, like you said, man, if we're going to talk World of Warcraft, we can fill up weeks and weeks of our podcast with that. So, and I think that we will touch on a lot of those topics. But just for today, I think that you're right. I think at the end of Wrath of the Lich King would have been a perfect time to say, let's go build Warcraft 4 and give you a real-time strategy that could be available on console and PC, and milk that market a little bit, and then come back to the MMO. But I think that the money was coming in too high and too often at that point, where they just wanted to keep milking that. And again, topics we'll touch on in the future, the oversaturation of all the crap that they've jammed into that game, that to me has ruined it, because I can't play the game anymore. I can't immerse myself. It's crazy, because you think to yourself, you're going to play a game where you're playing races that don't exist in the real world, and you've got magic and all this fantasy stuff, but I can't find it, I can't immerse into it, even though it is a fantasy, when you have selfie cams. Like, stuff like that is the most idiotic stuff I've ever seen in my life, why they would add stupid stuff. And it's to pander to this younger generation that wants to have stuff that's cool. Like, one thing real quick I want to add in here is we've discussed the movie that we both waited forever to come out. And
10 years,
yeah, and I kept saying that I did like it, and after I've gone back and rewatched it and have actually had an honest conversation with myself, I don't like it. And the reason why, like the number one reason why, is when I saw Dalaran floating, like I cringed, like my skin crawled, because Dalaran being destroyed and raised and moved was a huge part of the lore of that game and of that universe. And when I understand that when you make a movie, sometimes you have to change some stuff so that people that aren't versed in it, or that aren't constant fans of it, they need an understanding of it. But when the director of the movie says that he did it because he thought it was, quote, badass, like, it loses me right there. So they've done that not only in that movie, but in the game.
Yeah, and that movie, if you sit back and watch it just as a summer blockbuster, okay, fine. It's acceptable for what it is. The problem is Warcraft is not the type of thing that it's something most people have never heard of. I mean, this is something that has a lot of lore tied into it. One of the major gut points for me of that movie that just gutted it for me was the fact that they made Ogrim Doomhammer a Frostwolf.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the novels, it really to me negatively affects the relationship between him and Duratan when they're the same clan. You can't appreciate the complexities of their friends outside of these clans. That's never been done before, and they're both higher ranked, like Duratan being a chieftain's son, Ogrim, I think he's a chieftain's son, or his father's like second in command of his clan. I can't recall exactly because it's been a while since I've read any Warcraft stuff, but the whole like relationship there, like how they're like crossing secret messages back and forth, and he's trying to keep him safe, and like the whole reason why Ogrim doesn't drink the demon blood is because Duratan's like, oh, don't do it. And I feel like you lose a lot of those complexities that really highlight the relationship in both characters. And I wasn't happy with how Ogrim was depicted in that movie. He's almost not confident, unsure of himself, and it's definitely not the badass warrior image that the books and novels and lore give him. And he eventually rises up to be the leader of the Horde. And then Duratan dying from Gul'dan at the last duel, that's not the way the lore goes. And actually, it was Ogrim who who kills Blackhand, not Lothar in this Mok Graw thing. And that's how he rose up to be leader of the Horde. And I'm not going to go into all that because we'll be here all night. But it definitely, that movie has some lore issues, which make me kind of not like it. But you know what? I have to admit, seeing it in the theaters, it did take me back. And it's like, man, these games I have played since I was like 9 or 8 or 10 years old, playing the RTS games, and then it's like, man, I'm looking at like these orcs like on screen. It was kind of cool, and I did get caught up in it in the moment, but they did an excellent job with Gul'dan. Like, I thought Gul'dan was the best part of that movie. You know?
Yeah, there are major flaws, and I saw it twice in the theater. The first weekend it came out, and then the second weekend, because like you said, like, it was impressive to see it on the big screen. And I thought the animations and the graphics of it and everything, I thought was pretty good. I think the human acting was a little bit lackluster, not bad, but not perfect. I thought that the Horde side of the acting was really good, but a few key points that drove me nuts was, one, the Dalaran thing. 2, like you said, Ogrim not being in the right clan. He's not a Frostwolf. That one I can kind of get to help drive the story for people that don't know the clans, but still I don't like it. The bigger one for me is, like you said, who died and by whose hand. Those are big things, like Duratan and Draka being killed by orcs. takes away everything that built Thrall up, right? Like, you know, humans killed his parents and then raised him as a gladiator. Like, I don't know how you continue that story. And I really thought that after Warcraft aired, my assumption was going to be that Warcraft 2, the movie, was going to be a story. It was going to actually start off in like the gladiator pits of Thrall fighting there, and then like pick up on his story and drive him through the events of Warcraft 3, the video game. And then I thought Warcraft 3, the movie, would have picked up and carried the arc of Arthas becoming and falling as the Lich King. I thought that would have been a perfect trilogy, but I don't know if they're going to do anything with as bad as it bombed in North America.
Right, and that's the sad thing is that it did really well overseas. Now, I don't know that it was humans who killed Thrall's parents. I thought it was assassins that Gul'dan sent because they were exiled, right?
Okay, yeah, maybe you're right, but yeah, so yeah, I think you are right. I think it was Gul'dan's assassins, and then but it happened on well, obviously human land. It's in Azeroth,
Right.
but then the humans found them. So yeah, I think I was incorrect in that.
Well, they were meeting with Ogrim, and his guards were supposed to escort them safely outside of that territory. And I think one of his guards, or some of the guards, betrayed them, and I think Ogrim killed him later, and all this stuff. So.
I don't know. I have to go back on it. I don't know. It was either. It may have been people of the Shadow Council or of the what the heck are those? The Twilight Hammers Council. You read Christy Golden's book, Thrall book, right? The one that came out after the Shattering.
Yeah.
So that's the one where Thrall actually, when he becomes all powerful or whatnot, hippie type powerful. But that in that book, he falls into like a time lapse and goes back and sees his parents killed. And I swear I want to say that humans did it in that. It was either humans or people of the Twilight Hammers clan. I don't know. That's something that we can follow up on.
All Wikipedia says is that, let's see, his parents killed by Gul'dan's assassins shortly after his birth in the beginning of the First War. He was found and raised by, Blackmore. Blah,
okay.
Blah, blah, blah.
That makes sense.
Maybe they were humans. It doesn't specify, but they were definitely Gul'dan's assassins. Is all we can really get from that.
I would have to think that I wouldn't see Gul'dan using humans as much as he
at that time.
Yeah,
probably not.
Okay. All right, man. Well, we touched on some pretty good topics today. So one thing that I don't know if you want to flip over, I don't know if you're still watching the live stream yourself, but down in the quest log. I think for each episode that we do, I'm going to put in, I don't have the chat bot running Draw. I'll be streaming later, and I'll have that running if you want to check your rank. Yeah, I know. I'll fix all that, man. We're going through, Screen Tapper. I've got some chat going on here that I'm trying to catch up on. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of troubleshooting today, guys, this first episode, so bear with me. Definitely let me know. I need to know the things that you guys are seeing, so put them in the chat or put them in comments on the video when it's displayed on the site. And I'll also give you guys a link in the description to this video on my channel that will take you over to our new channel. So Geiger, Screen Tapper, the quest log. Every week that we do this podcast, we'll put one quest in there, and that's going to be one topic that we're certainly going to touch on. I know it's probably small for you right now, but today's quest was to launch a podcast, and we'll probably open up with this every week. I think would be a good way to go. YouTube needs a podcast, suggested players too. Description of the quest, something to talk about, old Sandsocks. YouTube has been lacking a good podcast from you. Screen Tapper is waiting down by the river for you. Find him and give YouTube 30 to 45 minutes of your time, which I'm going to have to go ahead and say quest complete.
Find him and give him the holy HJ.
Yeah, well, we can go on that topic of the old RPG Maker one day in the future. But we're approaching that 45-minute mark today. Right now we're at 43 and 3/4. So was there anything that you wanted to let everyone know before we sign off for this week's podcast?
Well, I feel like we should at least touch on one more topic, even if we do a little OT and go on for like another 10 to 15 minutes. Since the beginning of our podcast possibly had some technical issues, I'm just kind of drawing a blank. We went crazy with the whole, Warcraft thing. So
sure, yeah, go for it.
Well, I don't have a specific topic in mind. I was kind of hoping from a little nudge from you to get something going.
Okay, so we left off on the Warcraft talk. You want to do something else about Warcraft?
let's touch on a fresh topic. Let's get away from Warcraft. I think this whole thing's just turned into Warcraft talk.
It is, man. That's well, Warcraft ran our lives for like 10 years. Um, oh, man, see,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to like do some prep work and have something for you up front. Friday the 13th, Carlos, you want us to talk about? Why don't you guys in the chat, Carlos, Draw, or anybody else that's watching, give us a topic. What we'll give you about 10 to 15 more minutes of this cast before we close off. Give us a topic that you guys want to hear us talk about. Something that you like, and it can't be Fortnite because most of the people that come here and watch this channel right now, my personal channel, are Fortnite fans.
It doesn't help that it says like Fortnite live stream.
That's what he just told me. Yeah. So again, guys. Okay, so here's a good topic that I can talk about until they give us something. Carlos wants to talk to us about Friday the 13th. Are you talking about the game or the
what
day?
about draw? What about Draw Me over here talking about Pokemon got sued for like animal abuse or something? That's people are so oversensitive these days.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
we can talk about that. I can actually see that, especially when they came out with it. Dude, it was in 2016 that Pokemon Go game came out, whatever, and like everyone was crazy, going crazy about it, and all my friends that do the roller derby stuff. So I was actually in Canada, and my friend was like, "You got to download it. You got to try it. It's awesome." I downloaded it. That was the dumbest damn game I've ever played in my life. So you walk around and find Pokemon and point your phone at it and flick your thumb like you're throwing a Pokeball at it, and that's the coolest thing in the world. Like, I didn't get it.
Let me tell you what killed Pokemon Go for me, because I was on board for a little bit. When I realized that I couldn't just sit on my butt on my couch and play that game, I don't want to play that game. That's what video games are. Okay, if I got to get up and walk around, like, what do you think I am? I'm not healthy. Like, obviously, like, I'm a gamer, so right, or at least I used to be. So it's like, I mean, how many gamers really want to like be active? I mean, come on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was the one thing that, when my buddy told me to install that game, he said like you capture your Pokemon and then you like the time that you walk or whatever like trains them or something like that. And I was running 5 miles every single day, and I thought, oh, this could be. I'm going to wreck people. Like, I'm going to catch me a Pokemon. I'm going to strap it to my arm and go for a 5-mile run and get like this buff Pokemon. And unless you're actively like moving on your phone every 30 seconds, like it would shut down and not count that time. So, Carlos,
it's not even that original of a concept, because Draw Me Bros might know. He seems like he's a little versed in the Pokemon world. They had like Soul Silver and I think Heart Gold, and they had these like little Pokeball digital things where you could take a Pokemon out of the game and put it in this ball thing, like a little Pokeball digital display thing, LCD screen, and you could wear it like on your belt, and like when you walked, it like, I think it had like a little mini game built in, and it like gave the Pokemon experience. Because at the time when I had a 3DS and when I was actually playing, I'm not a big Nintendo fan, but I had one, and I was playing Soul Silver because I think it's one of the best Pokemon games ever made, in my opinion. I was doing that, and at the time I was walking a lot more. I was trying to get in better shape. I was doing a lot of walks and stuff because I work third shift. I didn't get a lot of sunlight, so after work I would go and I'd walk. I take that thing with me and walk with my Pokemon. So that whole concept had kind of been done before. So I mean, I guess it's okay for them to like feed off of their own concepts, but I just feel like a real Android Pokemon game would have been a lot better than just like I don't know what you want to call that, but I feel like it would have been better than what they did, basically.
Yeah, I think so too. And I was not on board. I think yourself and maybe even I want to say Gary Douglas may have played the Pokemon games back on like Game Boy. Did you guys play that? The Pokemon Red and Blue and stuff like that?
I bought a Game Boy Pocket with allowance money for, I want to say, like 40 or $50 just to be able to play one of the original Pokemon games, because honestly I never owned another game for that Game Boy because I was more of a Sega kid, as I know you know. I had the Game Gear, the Genesis, and all that. So yeah, I played it.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know much about those. They every time I get on and I look at like top X video games of all time, whatever the X may be the number, like Pokemon Red, Silver, Gold, all those colors, whatever the hell they were, they always pop up in that list. They were a pretty popular one. Draw is talking about Red, Blue, and Yellow. I didn't play those, but even I've never been to any concerts before in my life from like music, which seems crazy, but I've been to one, and I've been to it twice, and that's the Video Games Live concert where they play all kinds of video game music, and every single time they always cover Pokemon. And even this last time, the closing act, they actually had the legitimate guy that wrote and sang the original Pokemon intro music for the show come and do a performance there, and it was pretty impressive. So that's my Pokemon experience.
um, yeah, Pokemon, man. I don't know. I think we were. I want to say we were almost a little too old by the time that came out, but I still remember kind of getting into it. So
Yeah, and it seems crazy because you and I both loved Monster Rancher, and I even watched the cartoon for Monster Rancher in the morning. I thought it was the coolest concept in the world. You know, you capture your monster, you train them, you raise them, you enter them into battle, and it seems like the same kind of line as Pokemon. To me, it just the Pokemon, I think maybe because you were more of a fan, or you still are more of a fan of like the Japanime type stuff, where I wasn't. Maybe that fit more. Isn't that more of because the Monster Rancher seemed like the American version or the Western version of like a Pokemon type title.
I liked Monster Rancher better. I don't know if that's an age thing coming into play or what, but you showed me Monster Rancher, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I religiously played Monster Rancher 2 for a very, very long time on my original PS1, and I was obsessed with it.
Yeah, it was a great game, and actually, the only reason why I knew about that game is because I know you probably remember Shane Kanagoski. His brother like modded an original PlayStation for him and like burnt tons of games. Like that kid had game after game after game. And Monster Rancher, the first one, was one that he had, and I think that after playing that with him, I went up to Myers and I found Monster Rancher 2 available, which was an amazing game. I wish they would still make those.
Yeah, yeah. Monster Rancher 2 is where it was at for me. I played that religiously. I could go into a million stories. Like the first time I figured out like that they die, like that was like shattering because it's like you spent so much time into this monster, and then you take it so far in the tournaments and you go on these adventures with it, and it dies, and it's just like devastation because you got to start all the way at the bottom.
I think that it was probably the most unique game ever built, and the fact that the way you got your monsters was you had to use physical CDs to generate your monster, right? Like I don't know of any other game that did something like that, and it was always going to be the same monster for that CD. Like that CD, there was something about it that it knew to generate the right monster, and it kept it fresh because you would, even if you said you only had 10 CDs in your entire library and you had already gone through all 10 of them and you made your monsters, you would know if you'd played the game for a while that once your monster started approaching the end of its lifespan, that you could do that thing where you could merge it with another monster and then come up with something new and unique, even if you didn't have the CDs or games available to generate those by default. So I thought it was a really cool concept.
Yeah, I recall you being a fan of the jelly monsters.
Yeah, the jelly monsters and actually the Nagas, which I didn't know anything about Nagas, back in that point in time.
Right. I never even heard. That was probably the first time I heard that word, but now forever tainted on my memory is just like the Nagas that used to be outside of like South Shore and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so Carlos wanted us to talk about Clash Royale, and I can tell you right now, I'm pretty sure Mr. Screen Tapper has never played, maybe not even heard of that. I think that's an Android game, actually,
right,
or mobile.
Clash Royale. No, I'm not familiar with that. Although for some reason that sounds. Aren't there just a bunch of like battle royale games now? Isn't that like a genre in and of itself?
I think so, and one of the primary ones is that PUBG, the Player Unknown Battleground, and they're actually all of them now are starting to make mobile versions of their game. And you remember how we were playing on what was that Star Wars game? Was it Force Unleashed or whatever, the card game we were playing earlier?
I don't know what exactly. I know what you're talking about. I don't know exactly what it was called though.
Yeah, well, whatever that Star Wars game was, I felt like because I was playing on an Android emulator on my my PC, and I was able to use mouse and keyboard, like until we started playing really good players, like I felt like I had an upper hand, and I feel like I could go do that on PUBG right now. I could get on my mobile emulator or my Android emulator on my PC and be able to use a mouse and keyboard against people that are sitting there physically on their phones with their thumbs trying to do a third-person shooter. Man, Carlos, we're going to disappoint you, man. Poor Carlos wants us to talk about Black Ops 4.
Yeah, I was seeing that. I was like, well, I saw the trailer for Black Ops 4, and I heard it's being ran on Battle.net servers. That's about all I know about it.
Dude, Black Ops 4. You want to know where Black Ops 4 lost? Well, I would say the first place Black Ops 4 lost me was at Black Ops 3, because that game was garbage. In my opinion, Black Ops 4, the other part that really bothers me, this sounds so stupid because it has nothing to do with the gameplay. Why did they make the number 4 like they're doing Roman numerals, you know, for the first three, like a 1 and then 2 1s to represent a 2 and then 3 1s to represent a 3. You would expect a 1 and a V to represent Black Ops 4, but it's 4 individual 1s or I's. And it drives
I
me
don't think
nuts.
the average Call of Duty consumer is intelligent enough to recognize a Roman numeral
That's not.
4, if you want my opinion.
Yeah, man, I'm a hugely against all the Call of Duty games. I've never played one that I've actually thoroughly enjoyed. I've been much more of a fan of the Battlefield series when it comes to doing shooters like that.
The only thing I will say about Call of Duty 4, of course, this is just hearsay because people hype it up every single time whenever there's a new Call of Duty. But Black Ops 4, supposedly you don't regenerate health. Supposedly you have to have a medic class come and heal you. So that is kind of cool because what I liked about Battlefield 3, because I know we used to play that a lot, you kind of were dependent on the other classes to help you out, turn the tides of battle, that sort of thing. I don't know. I liked Black Ops 2 quite a bit. I honestly bought Black Ops 2 because Trent Reznor did the soundtrack to it. And you can judge me all you want for that, but I thought it was cool. And I played Black Ops 2 quite a bit. And it was all right. We don't need to see that POS trailer.
I just have something running in the background while we're doing. How about this ad? We'll watch this T-Mobile ad instead.
T-Mobile ad? Well, I'm not sure which is worse.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll just sit here and watch.
Arc.
What
is Arc? What?
Well, I was just gonna say we'll just sit here and stare at this logo that I just said drives me nuts for 26 minutes. Was somebody asking for Arc? Arc is the best. What's Arc? Draw. I don't know what that is, man. I actually what?
Oh, Treyarch. Is he talking about Treyarch?
Are you talking about Treyarch? I don't know. Let us know in the chat. But just to finish up on that Black Ops, man, Black Ops 2, I bought that right after I visited you last because I had fun playing that in co-op with you. But just their Arc is a fun game. Let's go look it up. That's what we got.
Wait. Is Arc the like MMO-ish? I could be talking out of my butt here, but is Arc like the survival game with like guns and dinosaurs or something?
It looks like it. Yeah, I see a dinosaur riding chick with a gun. So it looks like it. Arc Evolved.
Yeah. That's what he's talking about. I've heard that was a good game. You know what? I've never played it, but I did hear that was a good game.
Well, it looks like I saw something that said PS4 reveal, so I don't know if it's on PS4 yet, but I see it here on Steam, and it's got recent reviews, mostly positive, overall reviews on 150K of total, mixed. So it looks like maybe they've done some updating recently that's improved the game or made it better quality. Just watching the footage here.
Hendrix and Draw Me says it's good.
All right. Well, we'll have to. How much does it cost? First off. Oh, $60.
No. Holy shit!
No,
the man with the green beard, otters. I'm sold. Look at that. It's amazing. Forget Pokemon, otters, and flying things.
Well, I was thinking, I got a first play due up for my channel on Friday, and I've never heard or seen this game, so I was like, that'll fit perfect. Yeah, $60. I'm not doing $60 for first play game. I can't be popping $60 a week to play a game for 10.
No balls. No balls
at all, man. I mean, the graphics on it here look cool. I don't know anything about the gameplay. So let's
see. It's on
see.
PS4. That's what they're saying.
All right, so it looks like it's an MMO as well, but it says single player. So I'm confused as maybe does it have a story and then an open world multiplayer that they're calling MMO? Because it's probably...
He got it for $15 on eBay, so maybe you should look into eBay to check a good price.
I should. Let's flip back over here so I can see what you're talking about. I got it for $15 on eBay. Yeah, you did.
Look at that. You can run with a spear. You can swim. You can shoot things.
Yeah, you can do all kinds of stuff. I mean, it looks, graphic-wise, it looks like a good enough game. I just certainly would not be up for paying $60 for a game unless I knew it was going to be a game that I like. But I mean, just real quick, back to the Call of Duty. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I bought that the Call of Duty World War II because I'm like, when it comes to World War I and World War II games, like it's pretty hard to mess up. Usually those games are good. Even like the old Call of Duty games weren't bad for World War II ones.
Fighter.
But yeah, that last Call of Duty World War II was garbage.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on this Arc thing. You work your way up from scratch, so I think you'll rage quit because it'll be like Hillsbrad Cemetery all over again.
You will, yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe we need to do some research on Arc and read some reviews and watch some videos on it and talk about it next week. I mean, it looks like a
Sure.
good enough camera.
Go ahead and send me the rest of my streaming equipment, aka that nice that nice laptop, and I'll get right on getting Arc.
The webcam and the headset wasn't good enough?
Well, it's a good start, but I seem to be missing that hardware that I surely require.
Yeah, well, all this hardware that I've got going on over here, I've been building. Oh man, look, my camera's clipping over here too. We got a lot of work to do, guys. For next week's podcast, I gotta get all this cleaned up. I gotta get Screen Tapper put into his proper camera so he can move around a little bit, because I know you're trying really hard to stay center screened here, and I appreciate that. But I'm gonna try to get you fixed up where you ain't got to worry about that so much.
My ass is numb, so yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're right at an hour, so I think we're at a good place to call it a week. It's kind of an infinite game. There's no end.
Yeah. Sounds like Minecraft with guns and dinosaurs.
Minecraft. You know what? We're talking about Minecraft next week. Now you brought that up. We're gonna talk about how we got hooked on that game for 2 days straight.
Well,
no stop.
All right then, everybody, all three of you. Oh, there's 3 likes on the video, so there you go. I guess that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And like the video. Don't subscribe. Well, you can subscribe, but we're gonna have our own YouTube channel, I believe, is the plan. So make sure you go check that out. And hey, we'll do this again. And I'm just the sidekick here, so. Cats with guns.
No, we're going 50-50 on this, guys. If you guys, so Region, Draw, and Carlos, they're 3 regulars that are on my nightly stream. So guys, I will be on in about an hour on Fortnite. If you guys want to come back, Geiger, you stick around for me, even when we end the stream here for a second. So yeah, Draw and Region, Carlos, you guys, I'll put a link to our shared channel. It's Gallows and Tavern Talk. I was actually trying to pull it up. Let me pull it up real quick before we end the stream, and we'll end it there tonight, so I can put it in the chat. Let's see here. I was pulling it up. What the hell happened? All right. So
Arc happened.
Yeah, it did. Arc got
Get the woolly mammoth. You chase him.
All right. So let me.
I'm obsessed with Arc.
So yeah, I'm having a hard time getting like the good URL to this channel because there's spaces in the name until we get 100 subscribers, and then I'll be able to modify it into a custom URL. But if you guys could, I know you guys have been doing me some big favors by hanging out in my primary channel, which is building. We're up to 90, guys. We're 10 away from that 100 giveaway. But if you guys could, any web addresses, and try again. I'm the owner of that. I'm the owner. Let me do it. All right. So what I'll do is maybe just drop the beginning of this and just know to put www. But that's our channel right there, guys. If y'all could go over there and just throw a subscription starting next week, we'll be already subscribed. Look at you. I ain't got to ask you guys to. I'm going to display one more time my personal video for the end of today's podcast. And then next week we'll have some personalized content for the podcast itself. So I am Sandsox. My friend over here to my right. Who are you?
I am Screen Tapper, and I'm going to be mind-numbingly drunk after this podcast.
There you go. So you guys in the podcast that rewatch this or are here live with us, if you guys have any suggestions on anything that you want to see us talk about next week, feel free to shoot it in a message or put it in the comments of the video, and do the like and subscribe thing, and we'll catch you guys later. Geiger, stick around for me.